everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead Q&A video. So in this one here, obviously I want to answer all of your questions and whatnot regarding The Walking Dead. So if you do want to take part in these Q&As, definitely go join the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. I do these Q&As every single Wednesday. Obviously today is Thursday. I know I was a day late with this one, but The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is going to be here in just 17 days, like literally just 17 days. And then we actually get to start watching The Walking Dead again because it's been so long, right? So yeah, definitely make sure to be a subscriber. If you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, breakdowns and everything, I will be covering this show obviously a lot, and only 17 more days. So yeah, very, very exciting here. But let's get into the first question here. So Q&A, would you ever do individual episode reviews for Fear? Season 3 of that show is the best television I've seen. Also, in the video on Fear you did recently, you mentioned how Erickson leaving was obviously the downfall of the show. I think there is evidence that AMC wanted him out as well. What are your thoughts on the interview at the time where he says he would have kept Troy alive and had the group all back together on the road with the Proctors still the main thread? I think the dynamic of the group with Troy / Nick / Madison / Daniel / Strand, etc. would have been the most compelling early Walking Dead style content we would have ever seen. So in terms of that second part to your question there, I don't actually know necessarily. I don't know if AMC wanted him out because I'm pretty sure he did other shows for AMC. I think he went and did a bunch of other shows and whatnot for AMC. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong with that. So I don't know. I mean, I have no idea if that's true or not. So I don't really know. But I still think overall, Dave Erickson should have been the showrunner. He should have stayed on. And if what you're saying is true, I don't remember the interview at the time or if he did say those things like regarding, where he would take the story. I mean, all of that just sounds amazing, like keeping Troy alive because he was really a great character, and, having the Proctors as still the main threat. I mean, like that felt like that should have been where season 4 was going, right? And that was the most exciting thing about the cliffhanger of, where it ended there in season 3 was that you were just wondering where the story is going to go next. Like the show actually really built up a really awesome story for itself, and a lot of fans really liked season 3. I know season 2 people were like, I don't know about this show, but season 3 really got better. And yeah, keeping Troy, alive and having like Nick and Madison there, even if the actor, who plays Nick left the show still in season 4, then you could have made his death in the finale of season 4. Like that's, that would have been fine. Who knows? Maybe the actor wanted to leave because Dave Erickson was gone. Like, I have no idea. Maybe he wanted to leave for his own, just his own career and whatnot, because obviously he's going to do his own thing and everything. So that also makes a lot of sense. I just think that in general, the decision to kill Nick off very early on in season 4 and then kill off Madison and then just go where you went with it. Yeah, I definitely, if Dave Erickson was there, I don't think that would have happened. And even if Nick died that season, I think it would have been later on in the season. And I think even if Morgan showed up in that season, there would have been a much better way to actually have him on the show. But in terms of doing individual Fear the Walking Dead episodes, I think that really depends. Like, at some point I think I will. Like, I do want to watch season 1 again. And I don't know, like, that's the thing about Fear the Walking Dead is like reviewing individual episodes, I would have to watch the entire series. And that is one thing I don't really want to do. Like, I don't really want to review every single episode. Like, I think for the first 3 seasons, that would be really cool. But like afterwards, it would just, I don't even know what I would talk about, honestly. So I just think, maybe I'll do season reviews. I think that would work because reviewing season 1 again, that'd be a lot of fun. Reviewing all of season 2 and all of season 3, that'd be a lot of fun because I would like to see where the story was overall and just, sort of, because I know season 2 wasn't the best season, but I just feel like that's how I'm remembering it. But if I go back and rewatch it, maybe I'm like, oh, actually, that's a really good season. Like I have no idea. So it would be cool to do that, I think. Q&A. What do you think Rick's reaction would be if he finds out that Carol made a deal with Negan and let him out? Really good question here because that's something that, honestly, I don't know. I feel like maybe he'd be upset about it, but I feel like he would expect it from Carol because obviously Carol does stuff like that sometimes, right? Like if you remember with Karen and David, like Carol just, takes things into her own hands and she'll just make her own decisions. And so, I feel like if it was around that time, he would be upset with it. Definitely. If Rick found out back then, he would be very, very upset with that. But because he's been gone for so long, and I think when he gets back and he finds out that Negan isn't in that cell anymore, and see, that's what I mean. That's what I want in a new series, like a season 2 of The Ones Who Live. There's so many places you can go with this, like him finding out that Negan isn't in the cell anymore, and like he got out years ago. how is he going to feel about that? Like, I'm sure when he gets back there, obviously he wants to see his kids. It's the first thing on his mind. He's going to really focus on his family and whatnot. But like, I imagine that night or like later on in a couple of days or something, he's going to be wondering like, well, where's this person? Where's this person? And what have things been like? You know, is Negan still in that cell? Because that was a big thing that he focused on when he was there. He went and visited him, you know, whenever he had to and whatnot. So to find out, no, he left this and that, and where things are at, man, I want to see Rick's reaction to everything there. So that's why I think that has to happen at some point in the future, because there's so much story there that's sort of left open. If you just look at what happened in season 9, Rick was always visiting Negan all the time, and then all of a sudden he's just gone. Like, how would he react to all of that? Like, there's so much more story to tell there. So yeah, you know, I just don't think he's gonna have a reaction really at all, though, to Carol, you know, being the one that let him out. I think that, again, I don't think he's gonna really be that upset about that. So Q&A, do you think Anna is going to be a part of the show going forward? She aligned with Madame Genet, but not necessarily loyal. She could try to kill Carol. Second question, do you think the Laurent story needs a revamp? Maybe take them back to America? Well, I don't think they're going to do that. I think Laurent's story, I mean, if he is there for season 3 and 4, cool, but I think a lot of that story is going to end in season 2, you know, in terms of him being like the next Messiah and all of that. I'm pretty sure they're going to end that storyline this season, because that storyline really only is a storyline because Madame Genet finds it very threatening. And, you know, if she's gone, if Pouvoir is gone, then, you know, that's not really a threat overall. So I don't think it's going to really matter overall. So I think that, yeah, I think the Laurent story will pretty much be over. In terms of, do I think Anna is going to be a part of the story going forward? I don't think so. I think she's just gonna, you know, maybe she dies at some point in season 2 here. She's aligned herself, I guess, with Madame Genet in a sense. I mean, I don't know. I think she's probably gonna die this season, so I don't really think that she'll be a part of the show in season 3 and 4 and whatnot. I think that for sure she's likely going to die in season 2, or her story's just gonna end there. She won't be a part of the series going forward until season 5, 6, 7, 8, whenever the show decides to end. Q&A, in terms of developing Carol and Daryl as big players in this new European story, should we realistically expect Melissa McBride and Norman Reedus to learn some French or Spanish for the upcoming seasons? Just seems realistic. Yeah, I feel like, first of all, a lot of that is on the writers, and so I think if the writers like remember that, and there's certain scenes where, you know, Daryl can speak French or says this and that, or Carol, then like, cool, yeah, obviously they'll do something like that. I just think that, yeah, it depends on the story, it depends on the moment. Like, you know, I could see a scene where maybe, you know, Daryl and Rick are, say they're reunited and whatnot, and then Rick just asks Daryl, you know, like, do you know any French? You know, because obviously he was in France, and I could see, you know, maybe things like that happen here and there. It depends on where the story goes overall, but yeah, I think they are learning some of the words, because you do see the characters, you know, say some French words here and there. Q&A, if you had to delete one spin-off, which one would you choose between Fear, World Beyond, Tales, Daryl Dixon, and Dead City? Because I definitely feel like between Fear and World Beyond, there are some story gaps and not as good of writing as there is in the main show. Maybe the webisodes too, I don't know. Well, in terms of those shows, I'll even include like the ones who live in there, just because, you know, but I feel like the one show I would get rid of out of all of those shows would maybe be Tales of the Walking Dead, just because those stories didn't matter. And I'm looking at Fear the Walking Dead, a lot of the stories, even though I didn't really like the stories, they mattered overall. Like, it was actually, you know, a big part of the overall Walking Dead story. Whereas I would say with Tales, there was some really interesting stories there, and there's some stuff that was just really cool. Some episodes that really seemed, honestly, really amazing, but ended up not mattering overall because it was like, I don't know, there was no connections to this or that. So to me, I would have to say Tales of the Walking Dead, which is honestly kind of insane, because to me, Tales of the Walking Dead could be one of the best Walking Dead shows out there, because every season you could have a story on this or that. You can have newer stories, newer characters, and you can have the governor show up. Like, there's just so many directions that you can take Tales of the Walking Dead in that I can't believe that show was unsuccessful. But it's because if you look at those episodes, none of it really mattered. Like, the Alpha episode was so cool, but this was after we just saw Alpha as well, a part of the Walking Dead. So getting her backstory like immediately just didn't really make a lot of sense. I think now it would be cool. You know, I definitely miss the character. So it would be cool to see Alpha and the Whisperers again for sure. But I think at the time, they needed a character like the governor, or just better ideas. Like, every single story needs to matter. Every episode you're watching, it needs to feel like, oh, this is going to matter overall in the Walking Dead universe. Even if there was that episode, with Atlanta and whatnot, and even though it seemed like they were just dreaming constantly or whatever was going on, even if you did something like that, maybe at the very end of the episode, you realistically explained what was actually happening, and maybe it was just one of those things that, it was a weirder episode. But again, I feel like you would do that if there was 16 episodes in a season, because this way it's just one episode out of those 16 that was just like, the weird episode, but some fans really like here and there. I think that's fine. But if you're only going to be doing 6, you need to make every single one count. And I think that was the issue with Tales of the Walking Dead. So out of all of those spin-offs there, I would have to say Tales of the Walking Dead. Q&A, you were talking about the Walking Dead's theme and that we will likely hear it again. What about Rick's entrance and exit song, Space Junk? I think that song, that would be really incredible. I don't know personally, because I feel like Space Junk, it's like a song from The Walking Dead. I mean, it is connected to Rick for sure. I think it would be really cool if at some point in the new series we did hear it, but I just don't know if they would ever do a moment like that and have it make sense. Like, I think you would have to really pick the moment. The moment is something that is like very cool. Like, something crazy is happening, but it's like very cool, right? Because that song, that's just what you get from watching this scene. Like, in both scenes there was so much going on where it seemed like Rick was going to die. This is The Walking Dead. There's zombies. This is so cool. Like, Rick Grimes is such an awesome character. And so you need a moment like that to really fit that. And I just think that it definitely wouldn't have worked in The Ones Who Live. There was no way to really make that work at all, because I think the way they told that story anyways, it wasn't like the story was that grounded. And so, Andrew Lincoln wants to do a simplistic survival horror story or whatever for Rick Grimes's, next story, I guess. So if that's like the main focus for the next story, then I could see, if it is a more grounded show, then that would make sense. We could hear that. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But I'll leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Again, thank you so much for all of your questions. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.